Sup nerds, I'm CuppaJoey, and due to subscriber request, today we're going to be having a look at r/thathappened. Very similar to r/quit your bollocks, these are all stories that are absolutely dripping in plausibility. Let's have a peek. You don't understand, my uncle is a farmer. And one day he was going out to check his crops and he notices a tractor just going around in circles. Thinks, that's weird, I go check it out. His freaking neighbour fell off his tractor and got ran over. But he was on the slope, so the tractor went around and around in circles, running him over each time. He was pressed into the ground like a freaking cartoon. How long had he been there? Maybe an hour. And he was alive and fine, just pressed into the dirt like Wile E. Coyote. He was so stuck in there that he couldn't move, so he just kept getting run over until my uncle found him. Okay, so if a tractor ran over you once, that would probably be enough to kill you. Those things are freaking heavy. If it kept running over you for an hour, you would definitely be dead, And let's say it just pushed someone into the dirt, but somehow was created a ridge over it or whatever. He would have suffocated. This is just the most ridiculous story. And I'm expecting him to next say, oh, and after, he had been out there, he was also 16 feet tall and 1 inch thin, but his clothes had stretched out at the same time, so he was actually fine. It just doesn't work. True story. When it begins true story, then it is definitely a true story. I walked into Starbucks yesterday without a mask on. They said I needed a face covering, so I put my hand over my mouth and nose with wide fingers. They approved. I laughed and realised my face must be offensive. We've mentioned it before, Karen. That's the whole thing, is that this whole worldwide situation where, we're gonna have to wear a mask when we go out to a shop or to do these things in order to save lives. None of that's actually true. It is just because we don't want to see your face. The whole world freaking united on this just so that we didn't have to see your face, Karen. I hope you realise that conspiracy is definitely true and not, completely infallible. I mean, what the hell? They approved. And as if we haven't all seen that viral video of the Karen angrily demanding why she can't go into a place without a mask and holding her hands over her mouth and going, is this okay then? And being told freaking no. Do you, if having sex 13 times in one night, considered a top talent? Oh well, I didn't do all the work, haha. I also have my GF's huge curves to thank, LMAO. Edit, just came back from a 2-hour sex session with my GF and I got 300 downvotes. This is classic brigading, lol. Stop downvoting me now. Oh, there's just so much that just fills me with all this inner kind of, I don't know if this is an older guy that, well, when I say older, I mean adult, because it really makes me think that it's just some kid. This is the kind of thing that, all the 15, 16, or even younger boys would be saying, it's the whole Jay from the In-Betweeners, it's that kind of vibe. But the idea of, I just got back from a 2-hour sex session. Who has, sex? I'll just say sex, I won't bother trying to point out the fact that it was 2 hours. Let's just talk about sex in general. Hey, everyone, let's talk about sex. I'm CuppaJoey, let's get to it. No, but who the hell has sex and then immediately afterwards, better tell Reddit? Oh, yes, it just doesn't happen. I don't know anybody who wants to do anything other than just sleep or relax or whatever after sex. Nobody just straight away, finishes, then boom, right, time to get on with stuff. I mean, unless you're dark side Phil, but I really want to go into that right now. And I also have my GS huge curves. The fact that he's genuinely upset about being downvoted. Hey guys, stop downvoting me. You're just jealous of my girlfriend's huge curves and the fact that I had sex to her, 30 times in one go and just had 2 hours sex session. What's up? I mean, that sounds like it's a big waste of your time, if anything. So I had Pinky like this, and I'm driving safely and obeying the speed limit for once, and I pull behind a cop, who proceeds to motion to have me pull over, and I'm like, WTF, I'm not doing crap or wrong, and to my surprise the police officer, who is a young guy, is like, can I hug her? Swear on my life I can't make this crap up. Faith restored again. Yeah, swear on your life, huh? You got a death wish, do ya? Oh god. I mean, you can make this crap up because this definitely was made up. I mean, the idea of a cop pulling someone over just to do that is, I mean, it is the kind of abuse of power that cops would do, let's be real. But it's weird. Also, the fact that, let's say that the cop was a massive brony and saw and, would have absolutely loved to have hugged Pinkie Pie. He wouldn't have been able to see that it was Pinkie Pie from that far away, and especially, like, if he's looking through the rearview mirror and she's that far down. Also, let's say he did know, he doesn't know whether that's his, or, and he's just strapping it in because he's genuinely in love with this plushie, or whether it's for his daughter, or whether he's using it to smuggle cocaine. There are just so many steps for this to have happened that would not have happened. If it was one slightly unbelievable thing, you might be okay, but so many things would have had to have happened, and this couldn't have happened. I just, I wonder why people go to the effort. What does this prove? And it's not even the feel-good story the brony thinks it is. Like, people can like My Little Pony. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a cartoon. There's not even anything wrong with cosplaying it and collecting the plushies. If you freaking love My Little Pony and want to spend a lot of time on it, then that's fair enough. But why would you make up this crap story that's clearly not true? X was maybe close to 4 inches, at most. New guy immediately after was 8+ and thick. Turns out I can squirt, and it only took 28 years for me to find out. I got revenge though. He left his computer laptop here that he would always ignore me for while playing his game, so I put it next to the couch and got fricked until I squirted on it so much it broke. Then I gave it back. Whoops! I have no idea how this ended up on r/thathappened when clearly this is somebody who knows exactly how vaginas work. Freaking sexual anatomy here, 10 out of 10. This is exactly what happened. What kind of bollocks is this? This was clearly not written by a woman. This was clearly written by a straight man. From the sounds of it, one that has some kind of cuck fetish. And I mean legit cuck fetish. I don't know where all this cuck, soy boy comes from, when it's just about wanting the best world for everyone. I mean, somebody who's genuinely into that sort of thing. And you know what? If you've got a cucking fetish, whatever. What you enjoy is your own business. It doesn't hurt anyone, so I don't care. That whole, turns out I could swear it only took 28 years for me to find out. 28 years, dude. I'm 28. Trust me. You figure out a hell of a lot more with a little friend that you plug in that goes than any kind of massive dong. Especially when you consider, little science lesson here, especially when you consider that the inside of the vagina is only 6 inches deep. So anything further than that can cause pain, and it is what it is. Also, I'm pretty sure that worldwide the average penis size is like 5 inches. It's just, pornography that has caused this whole large penis thing to be a thing. So, I know this is supposed to be comedy and I'm here rambling about penises, Oh, for God's sake, that whole we had sex and I squirted all over the computer. Like, what the hell? Like, it wouldn't just fucking jet out, like, immediately towards the computer. And that whole, he left his computer laptop here that he would always ignore me for while playing his games. Like, that's another kind of fantasy, the whole idea of, like, the girl wanting to have sex while the boy plays games. That's a fantasy, it's like a real thing. Although, having said that, and I'm not, ashamed to admit this, my partner was waiting upstairs for me for some intimacy. And she got sick of waiting, came downstairs to find out what I was doing, what was taking me so long. I totally goofed off, and she found me, like, looking at pictures of shiny Pokemon, trying to figure out which was going to be the next community day while I'm Pokemon guy, so it can happen. But, there wasn't any resentment. She just, like, laughed at me, But I guess that's the difference between a healthy relationship and one that's, only exists in incel fantasies. On Wednesday, I took a plague test. Results came back negative, but I just sneezed and this came out my nose. What came out your nose? Was it the stock photo of that little chip that you can find pretty much everywhere? Like, if you search for a very tiny computer chip, you find that exact stock image. Is that what came out? Like a printed photo of that stock image? You absolute moron. You lying buffoon, you cretin. Seriously, okay, so if they believed that this were the case, why would you lie about it? Why would you make up chips and tracking stuff and all this absolute bollocks if it were true? Surely you would have actual evidence as opposed to relying on stock pictures. Anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers are just a full-out circle. Like, that's what their Venn diagram looks like, is what I mean. My ex-girlfriend wanted to embarrass me in front of her friends as she loudly proclaimed I was terrible in bed. You should have seen her face when they all disagreed. Yeah, because if you sleep with your ex's friends, they all stay friends. And they all just, agree with how amazing you are in bed. That's definitely something that happens. Thank you, anonymous poster, to Flat Earth Match, Flat Earth Dating and Community Network. Oh, what a bunch of losers. Oh boy, it's not like flat earthers to lie about something. This one is just really bad. It's really horrible in general, and it gets so much worse when I give you a little bit of information at the end. Liar is feeling proud. So I'm watching Netflix with my son. Lol, this is the conversation. Jeremiah. Daddy, she has a big butt. I like it. Me. Yeah, she does, bro. I do too, lol. Jeremiah. Oh my god, look at those titties. Me. Ha ha ha, I see him, bro. You gonna marry a girl like that one day? Jeremiah. Only if she's smart, Daddy. That's my boy. Okay, so... God, this is just so freaking horrible. I hate stuff like this. I hate it. Okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath. I need to get into a good space for this because this is just so grim. It takes me some time to, delve into it, okay? The little tidbit of information that I kept until I'd read it is the fact that this guy's kid, Jeremiah, is 2 years old. So, this is a toddler. He's talking about a toddler. I mean, we all know that it's fake. We all know that this conversation would never happen. Okay, so let's not just address as to why it's fake. We all know it's fake, it's obviously fake. It's cringy fake, this conversation never happened. However, you need to really think about what kind of a guy would make up this conversation. This guy is basically talking online and making up a story where his 2-year-old son, okay, a toddler, barely able to form sentences at that point, is, sexualizing a big chest and a big bum. This is what really frustrates me, especially, right, as an LGBT plus person. First of all, he is sexualizing a toddler. That is wrong. That is disgusting. You shouldn't try and... In what kind of weird fantasy are you having a conversation where your toddler is lusting? It's just so... Oh, it just makes my skin crawl. It's absolutely foul. But this really bothers me, especially as a, I mentioned that I'm a member of the LGBT plus community. If you follow me on Twitter, I make no, I don't hide it at all. I talk about rights and stuff a lot. And one of the main arguments that we get about ourselves, especially the trans community, is that we are trying to corrupt kids. That we're trying to force kids to be gay, we're trying to indoctrinate kids, blah, 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 when, that's not the case at all. All we want is that we know what it's like to grow up as a queer kid and have that level of confusion and self-doubt and, even self-hatred and fear, and we just want to make sure that future kids don't feel that way. And yet we're told that purely by being who we are and wanting human rights that we're forcing kids to be the same way, and yet you have Creepy McCreeperface over here making up a conversation where his toddler is lusting after a woman with big breasts and a big bum. That whole I like it, and the idea that he said a 2-year-old said, "Oh my god, look at those titties." That is just absolutely foul. And he's supposed to be angling this as a, hey, look, I taught my kid that, brains are the most important thing. And so even though he's going to be a little pervert, he actually wants a brain. Isn't that a wholesome story? No, it's not a wholesome story. Why the frick are you trying to shove your 2-year-old into a sexual situation? It's just, it's just so grim, and he's not making the point. It's just, there's so many levels of utter horrificness with this. 1, sexualizing a toddler. 2, also it's the fact that it is forcing heterosexuality on this boy. Okay, let's for sake of argument just say that this kid did grow up to be gay, you know. He's already trying to say, oh look, he's gonna marry a girl with big titties if she's smart, You know, this kid is gonna have so much expectations on him, and it's really going to be damaging. I'm sorry, I know that this is supposed to be a comedy channel and I get freaking serious at times, but there are so many things that on the outset they're funny, but when you dive into it, it's freaking grim. Who the hell wants people to think that they've been talking about big tits with their toddler? It's really weird. I don't know what, you know, the impression this guy thought is that feeling proud smirk, you know. Why would you try and boast with a story of a lusty toddler? It's just, yeah. You know, it's so gross. It's just, you know, it's like a horny dog, you know, when you see those humping you later, you know. And the fact that they want to put their kids in this situation, there's so much about this that I hate. I've been rambling about this for 5 minutes now. It's just so terrible. When I was at GameStop one time, I showed an employee my aubergine, women employee to be exact, and she gave me $1,000 worth of V-Bucks codes. Anonymous. Wow, who would have thought that some kind of anonymous confession on TikTok that involves, you know, sexual harassment would turn out to be a lie? Seriously, as if doing that, like, first of all, that's sexual harassment. If anything, it would make them very scared and uncomfortable, you know. And like the idea that you would suddenly get $1,000 just because the dog that good, you know. And it's just such a ridiculous fantasy that would absolutely never happen. Back in school, probably when I was in the 2nd grade, my stomach was upset and the teacher was not letting me go to the washroom, so I accumulated some pressure, let out just a little amount of poop, made a poop ball and threw it at the teacher. In what world? In what world do you lie about crapping yourself in an attempt to impress people on the internet? Welcome to 2020. We are in a situation where somebody lies about pooing in their pants and then throwing the poo at the teacher. And that whole, I accumulated some pressure. It's like the idea of that whole opening a bottle of beer with your bum, like just kind of like sort of moulding it around the bum. It's just such a horrible thought. Like, you can't do that with your poo. You haven't got that kind of muscle in your bum in order to, you know, form the poo into a bowl. Into a ball. I mean, a bowl of poo is even worse. But it's just, why did you think that this would impress anyone? I saw something. There was this guy dying, and everyone was telling him not to die. And then his friend came up to him and said, we had a promise, and you can't fulfill that promise if you die. And then his heart rate drops, then 2 seconds later, his heart rate goes up, and apparently he came back to life because he got excited. He even was starting to get a boner. And you saw this where? This is another one where I have no idea why this guy would make this up. I mean, obviously I'm not saying it's true, it's obviously made up, but what? It's not a good story. First of all, it's so cheesy. The only way that this would be like a beautiful story, you know, from my point of view, is that if it were Captain Kirk and Spock. Because, you know, with the whole Vulcan emotions, it would definitely mean a lot, you know, boner aside here. But like that whole, everyone was telling him not to die. But like, except for one guy on the side, like, fricking die. Fricking die. And that whole, like, the whole idea of, oh, his friend said, we had a promise, and then that was it. This reminds me of, like, the really sad ending of Brotherhood, which is this film about the Korean War. If you're like me and you don't like Weepers, don't watch it. I was sobbing by the end. It's just so sad. And this had a similar thing, but it was like 2 brothers, like one of them was going to have a promise to the other, but he'd already died and he was, you know, sad. I'm giving spoilers now, so maybe, you know, it's ruined. But the whole, he was starting to get a boner. Like, why would you freaking include that? Like, it was just a really terrible, schmaltzy story, and then that was just the freaking boner on the top of the cake. Well, that's it for this episode of r/Quit Your Bollocks. I just wish that I had a life as interesting as all these super cool truth tellers we just saw. Thank you to Paragoose618 for suggesting this subreddit. It was a lot of fun to read out. And if you would like to hear from any other subreddit, then do let me know in the comments. I do read them. And until then, I'll see you all next time.